Number 10 is Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. So, this is probably the most boring card on this list. I'm not even gonna lie. It's just incredibly solid. Ever since it came out in New Challengers, you've been seeing people that could make a rank 4 just tech this in, because, well, Ruryoku isn't a good card, but when it's already on a 2500 attack beatstick and you don't need to draw Ruryoku, it's looking pretty good. This card is just generically solid and really good enough for the time, which means a lot coming off of such big rank 4s like number 101, Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. Even in the last set, previous to this one, Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer. Did you know that thing could Book of Moon? I forget constantly. But Dark Rebellion is just a really good, solid card that didn't break anything. But boy howdy, is he kind of really good. Number 9 is Honest. Honest from Light of Destruction. Granted, it's really hard to, debate who should have been the cover card of Light of Destruction. Just because JD also came out in that set, and Light of Destruction is just a really good set in general, as you can tell from the fact that the prices on sealed boxes are not only high because it's old, but high because it's good. Hello, Summon Limit as a common for some reason. But back to Honest. Honest is one of those cards that made you fear at all times. In fact, that might just be a top 10 list that I have in mind. Top 10 cards that Yu-Gi-Oh! Players always fear. I'd probably have the Hands and Gores and Honest on there, so let me know what you guys think on that list idea. But to be completely frank with you, Honest is a wonderful card that basically means that your Bujinte Susanoo beats over anything and kills your opponent, that anything that's light beats over the opponent, and it even led to people saying that there should be an Honest for every archetype, which is a terrible idea, because then you just have Bujingi Crane, and they don't need more of that, and you don't need a Dark Honest, or an Earth Honest. You don't need those, and you don't even need archetypical Honest. Like, the closest thing you can get is Kalut. That's fine, but don't put an Honest into everything, like Salad Honest, who needs that? It's such a card that defines Yu-Gi-Oh! And what it was during the GX era, all the way up into Zexal, into sprinkling into Arc 5. We don't really see it much anymore in Vrains, but still solid nonetheless. Number 8 is a card better known by its abbreviation than its actual card name, Demok, also known as Dark Magician of Chaos, the cover card for Invasion of Chaos. If it doesn't already scream to you that this card is pretty busted by the fact that it is a cover card of one of the most busted sets ever made, granted because number 107 was the set for Lords of the Tachyon Galaxy, and that came out with Draco Sack and Spellbook of Judgment, so what do I know? Demok also was banned and then errataed. That's how good it was. Because all you had to do back in those days, whether that be in GOAT or just in Chaos Yada Lock, all you had to do was send it off of any number of things like Painful Choice, which was still legal for some reason. Then you Monster Reborn the Demok, and then you just get the Monster Reborn back. It's like it just inherently summons itself. Or you can get back any of your Power 3, being Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity, and Delinquent Duo. You can do anything you really want. There was a reason that Magician of Faith was banned for a while. Way too long. But this is just Magician of Faith on crack. So why is it so low on the list? Well, not only is it an old card that didn't see play much later because it was already banned, but also it's because its errata shines through and shows that, well, it's just not a good card anymore, unfortunately. People don't run it, even in dedicated Dark Magician decks that could run Dedication through Light and Darkness. They don't even consider running Demok, which is sad, and I have to put it lower on the list just because of its post-eroded form being so nerfed. Number 7 is Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon from Shining Victories. Now, this is where I want to bring up what would have been number 11 on this list if I wanted to go one step beyond. BORRELOAD Savage Dragon. BORRELOAD Savage Dragon is a great level 8 synchro that negates things once per turn. So why is it not on the list while Crystal Wing is on the list and specifically requires a synchro monster? Well, first of all, Agripane existed for a very long time. And, second of all, I do want to bring up that this card has had a lot more to shine through than BORRELOAD Savage Dragon. You'd just straight up use 2 synchros to make this. You'd just synchro summon using a synchro to make this synchro. It's like Asception of some kind. Crystal Wing was such a good card from the fact that it could gain attack, negate an effect, and gain attack. It's ridiculous how easy this was to summon for quite a while, and how many decks could just automatically splash it in quite easily, which was pretty funky if you really think about it. It's like if you just played Altergeist and then busted out a Quasar in today's day and age. It's just weird how fucking great this card is and how much it was used. I love Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Shoutouts to Clear Wing, just not as good as Crystal Wing, but still a very solid card. Probably would have been number 12 or something like that on this list. Number 6 is a card that you don't only summon using your own monsters. It's Starving Venom Fusion Dragon from Invasion Vengeance. Coming from probably the most annoying set in my opinion, just from the fact that it's Invasion : Vengeance instead of Invasion of Vengeance, which makes a lot more sense to me. You also have the fact that this card is an amazing Super Poly target. It's so incredibly generic, and Darks are always going to be a part of this game until Konami just bans all of them, for whatever reason. I mean, we got 2 dads, so we might as well just go up and up and up with Dark support. Starving Venom is so good as a Super Poly target, and just as a card after it gets summoned, which you can't really say about Mud Dragon. This card gains a bunch of attack, it nukes the field on death, it burns. It's just so ridiculously powerful for what it is and how easy it is to summon. It was quite meta-breaking back in the day, and then Super Poly comes back and back and back, and now it's at 3. Starving Venom, you can't go 1 round in an event without seeing a Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Tell me this, when was the last time you saw Starving Venom? Yesterday? Earlier today? That should prove my point. Number 5 is Black Rose Dragon. I've already talked about how incredible this card is in my worst cover cards video, strangely enough, because I was just railing against Black Wing Dragon. Black Rose Dragon, you'd just tech in a level 3 tuner into whatever you had because you played level 4s because every level 4 was good, and then you just nuke the board. Rank 4 toolbox area, you still had a Black Rose just because you could tune into this thing. It's just a field nuke. It's ridiculous. Why wouldn't you want to play this to get yourself out of a bind, especially in your weird, wacky OTK deck that plays 3-Potted Duality, 3 Shard of Greed, and 3 Card D, and 3 Effect Veiler, the Asian Eye Special, as it has been come to be known. Black Rose Dragon is just a card that equalizes decks. If you play into Black Rose Dragon, it does not matter how good your deck is, you still get nuked, you can't make it back in those days. Granted, later on we had Moonlight Rose Dragon, which seemed to be a much better suitable counterpart to Black Rose in the modern era, just from the fact that you could bounce back a big thing your opponent was trying to summon, mainly because negates on monsters became a lot more rampant. Like, Black Rose going second against Pendulum Magicians does nothing. Moonlight going up first, then you got something going for you, at least a little bit. But Black Rose is still a card that's very near and dear to my heart. It's a beautiful Ghost Rare, one of the only 3 Ghost Rares I've ever owned in my life, and it is a solid meta card for the better part of a decade. Number 4 is the most recent card on this entire list. We have BORRELOAD Dragon from Circuit Break. Well, Circuit Break was a pretty good set. It's pretty bad to invest in now just because Megatons exist, but BORRELOAD, even through all the reprintings, still holds a good price point, and that should tell you just how good this card is. When was the last time we saw a card in a structure deck actually hold up a price point this important? Ash Blossom and Twin Twisters. That's about it. BORRELOAD is still an amazing card because it single-handedly outs any amount of decks. It is the rogue nullifier along the lines of evenly matched. You just put in a BORRELOAD, and then what does your opponent do? Even if it's a tier 1 deck, you just take the Thunder Dragon Titan, if you've already baited out all of the stuff that they can do to destroy things, and then you make your Thunder Dragon opponent skip their entire turn. It's pretty easy to make too. It's a generic Link 4, and you'll be able to just use this against anything in Rogue. If they have an interest in a big boss monster, just steal it. If it's affected by things, you can just steal it. In addition, you can always just use its minus 500 attack point effect just to make sure that anything that you do is safe, because you just chain that, especially during damage step. God damn, this card is powerful! Number 3 is the card that I also brought up in Worst Cover Cards. God, is Blackwing Dragon terrible! Stardust Dragon, first set of 5Ds in the Duelist Genesis. Stardust Dragon has seen so much play over the years, most recently and very continuously in Zodiac format, for God's sake, just because you put in Starlight Road. What's the one thing that Zoos hate? You just have Interrupted Kaiju Slumber or Dark Hole, negate it, summon a Stardust Dragon, and get rid of the second time your opponent would ever try to disrupt your very consistent Zodiac board. Before then, you had things like, oh, I don't know, anything that could synchro summon? Because this card's just good when you have Torrential and Bottomless laying around, when Compulse is a really good card and is limited because it single-handedly out-Stardust Dragon, and any other synchro, but Stardust, it just can't negate it. Stardust is such a good card from the fact that it's protection, a pretty big beatstick for what it is, and keep in mind, you have Starlight Road as a card just to get this thing out for free. Not even to mention some of the upgraded forms of Stardust. If you want to count Quasar, I'm not counting Quasar, but Quasar is a pretty good card. And Shooting Star Dragon, people only ran as a piece of Quasar, so Stardust reigns alone in being good for who he is, what he is, and how he comes out. Thank you, Stardust Dragon, for being incredible. Number 2. If I say number 2, you definitely know what number 1 is, but number 2 is Ancient Fairy Dragon. The first of the 2 main cover cards that are currently on the Forbidden and Limited list, and for a very good reason. Ancient Fairy Dragon should have been banned way before then. I would have said in Dragon Ruler format this thing should have been banned. You should not be able to spam out one of your whack dragons from hand and also get another Dragon Ravine, which basically might as well be Destiny Draw in that deck. Ancient Fairy Dragon is so good in any number of decks. Field spell cycling, if you want to do that, that's pretty good. If you want to summon a monster from your hand for basically free, that's pretty good. It's at a convenient level where you can overlay it into Tomahawk or Draco Sack. That's also pretty good. If you smash enough good effects onto one card, who would have guessed it would be banned? I know, right? Isn't that fantastic? Ancient Fairy Dragon definitely deserves a spot even above the main Signer's Dragon, just from the fact that, well, of course it's banned, but also it's banned for very good reason. This ain't the limited of A Assault Core out here, this hit is actually justified. Speaking of the hit on A Assault Core, we come to number 1, which is Firewall Dragon. Firewall Dragon, I don't need to tell you why this card's stupid. Like, it's just ridiculous. Firewall Dragon is an FTK machine. It's an extra link machine. It hits so many other cards on the ban list just because Konami didn't want to ban the actual problem card being Firewall Dragon. And don't listen to Farfa when he says Firewall Dragon ain't the problem card. We all know he's trolling because god damn, this man also says to unlock the shock. And if he's actually serious about both of these, I'd say that he needs to go get his head checked. Firewall is a ridiculous card. It's an extra deck mainstay in any deck that could ever summon Link monsters, which is any deck ever. I mean, maybe you don't play this in Ghost Tricks, but Ghost Tricks are like tier 37 if you know what I mean. Firewall Dragon, I don't need to go into any more detail. This card is broken and should have never been printed the way it is.